All right. Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday, and welcome to the Free Friday Coaching Call. And just a little context for today's calls and how these got started. We have them on the first and third Fridays of every month, and they started because Mr. Rick Chiha used to tell everyone, call me anytime you need me. I'm here to answer any questions that you might possibly have. And over time, that got undoable. Because there were just a lot of calls to be had. And he developed this idea of doing a free Friday coaching call. It's open to everyone, no matter what brokerage you're from or how far or how long you've been in real estate. And we invite wonderful, amazing leaders in the real estate industry to join us to help guide us, teach us, mentor us, and share their knowledge. And I am so excited today to welcome the lovely Tracy Warr. And some background on Tracy, she is a powerhouse in the Napa Valley real estate market. She has over 20 years of top performing experience and expertise in her market and in real estate. She's a third generation realtor. Rick was as well, which is kind of amazing. She's a longtime Napa resident, and she's had a very impressive career with Coldwell Banker as top producing both locally and internationally. She has a very candid, high touch approach in earning her business and dealing with her clients. And 80% of her business comes from repeat and satisfied clients, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. More than transactions, she's passionate about helping people experience the Napa lifestyle at its finest. So welcome, Tracy, today.
So much, Selena. Thank you. This is really fun. I'm passionate about real estate. Rick was a very, very dear friend. Casey still is like a sister and love her dearly. So I love doing this and sharing whatever I can share that helps others to do better in their business. I'm always learning myself. So here we are.
Amazing. So, Tracy's going to share with us today because she has so much experience in the luxury market, and I know that that is something that a lot of people are interested in or getting into. She's going to talk to us a bit about how she got started, what she does that provides that luxury feel to everything that she does. And then we're also going to discuss market shifts and what we've all been kind of experiencing. So, Tracy, first of all, tell us what got you started in the luxury market and how has that developed over the years that you've been doing it?
Actually, it's really interesting because I didn't start in the luxury market right off the bat. I did start just like everybody else, selling whatever I could and getting, in front of people. What I decided probably about 7 years in, and just remember, I came in just when the market took a dive in 2008. So there was a big shift. And once that we came out of that, I had decided, I know a lot of people. I'd like to get into the luxury side of things and experience that as well. Having said that, I had no idea what to do. So I ended up just had a coach say, well, why don't you? This was in the very beginning when Zillow was new, and said, why don't you just like do a Zillow account? And I was like, absolutely, I can't afford that. That's so expensive. And you'll laugh because it was $500. Exactly. And to this day, that is the account I still have. But I chose and it's $500. It's never, and they keep wanting to get me to go to something else. I'm like, no. um, but I was very strategic and I picked one of the most expensive zip codes in all of the Napa Valley, which was St. Helena. And so I did very well from that to start with. And then it just became a case of also going on the caravan where we have a separate day, which is we call the Up Valley Caravan, which is the more luxury touches. And going that route, I was doing that. Also going and doing a couple of open houses for the agents up Valley, just getting in front of people. And the biggest thing about luxury real estate and the luxury market is not about making calls and any kind of promotion or things like that necessarily on social media. This is a very high touch, who you know, and being in their playground with them. They are very relationship based. They like to do business with people they know, like, and trust, or a referral from a very dear friend or close colleague, know, like, and trust. So I would say because of my background previously, I was in food and wine industry, and a lot of my fellow coworkers at the time were budding winemakers, getting in the business, what have you. And I had a couple of friends say, "Hey, would you like to represent and help us?" I'd help them with their purchases in homes. And they asked if I'd like to help them with help start purchasing with wineries and some of the villas and some of their friends that were looking to, or investors that were looking to come in. So that's kind of how I got into it. But fast forward, it is something that you want to be very much a people person. You want to be involved, and going out to being in the events where they're attending, and just kind of always staying in touch also with those other agents that are working in that sphere as well. It's very different how you market a relate one of these types of properties. Like, you are going to be spending a lot of money on marketing. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, out the door, my videographer starts at 2,500 for these types of properties. He's exquisite. Like, it's got to be beautiful collaterals. It's got to be gorgeous, eye-catching, very sophisticated, very beautiful pieces. And so those don't come cheap. You need to have very high-end, high quality. And then where you market those pieces is also crucial. And making sure, like, if I, for example, I'm with Global Banker, we have global luxury. Global luxury, I'm able to reach out and make sure that is getting high touches, not only just with our global luxury agents nationally, but internationally. Because we're in the Napa Valley, we're able to command marketing abroad, which is super fun as well. And so I have relationships with a lot of agents in Europe as a result of this. And then just attending our global luxury networking events has also been such a great way to help market, let people know you're there, and just kind of, everybody's wanting to connect. And so you're connecting at a high level.
Tracy, I'm going to stop you for 1 second because I just want to make sure that everybody understood and maybe took a little bit of a note on that. So when you are looking into the luxury market, this is something for a long time, I was in New York, just north of Manhattan, working on a team there. So we had kind of traditional listings, and then obviously we had luxury that we would get as well. We did not use the same vendors for a traditional listing that we did for a luxury. So I want to speak to what Tracy said there, was like, she has a videographer that is top tier. You will not necessarily have the same group of vendors that you use for a traditional listing or maybe a non-luxury listing that you're going to have for something at that level, right?
Absolutely.
You're looking for someone like, and guys, if you see something out there and you're like, wow, that was an amazing marketing done on this particular listing, you could always ask who they use, right? It's not necessarily that you have to go out and
Absolutely.
find who that is, right? Go out and say, wow, I saw this piece, I saw this video tour, I saw this 3D tour, whatever, and it was just amazing. And then start developing that relationship with those vendors, because you're going to have a different level of vendor, whether it's staging, same thing.
All of
Don't use a
yeah.
low-end stager, right? You're looking
My
at
stager, I have 3 stagers that I use. One that I use for like my everyday stuff, but she's also a licensed architectural interior designer. So when I say we're going to do a high-end one, she also has the beautiful high-end, it's definitely, beautiful, beautiful pieces that are going to be going in. So there's a night depending. Now, sometimes you're going for a high-end, sophisticated, whereas here in the Napa Valley, like, we have a property in San Francisco as well. That's going to be very high-end, very sophisticated when we're designing that. But when we're doing here, there's a little more playfulness to the Napa Valley. So you can get away with a little more fun things if you like, but they're still high-end. Restoration hardware, of course, but that's almost becoming a little trite today. So it's things like that. You want to be just very conscious of what I don't know, just all your vendors need to be high end. They need to be gorgeous. And, my daughter, who also works with me, she studied what everybody else was doing. She just went on all the top agents that were doing very high end to see what their marketing looked like so that she could figure out what that looked like, and then started just asking around or looking for people in other areas so we weren't conflicting.
I think that's amazing. And guys, this is where I want people to understand that you don't have to come up with everything on your own. You can
Absolutely
you
not.
can see what other sorry, I got muted for some reason.
Yeah.
Got muted for a second. You can see what other people are doing and you can build from that. You don't have to start from zero and think I have to do everything. When we decided we changed something up in New York as well, where we actually, we changed our signs for luxury. It was a completely
Correct.
different sign, a completely different signpost. It was just everything had to be elevated. So you don't have to come up with it on your own, right? Go out and see what kind of sign is put up at something like that, and then go out and find it as well, right? And
Absolutely.
I want to bounce back to something else that you said as well, where you said be at the events, right? This is
Oh,
like, can we
this is
speak a little bit more about that?
crucial. So one of the things that's my job, quote unquote, that my daughter has me do, because my daughter's a licensed realtor and also does work with me, but she prefers to be back of the house. I'm not going to lie. So she does all the marketing, all the paperwork. I do have a transaction coordinator, of course. But what we do is, she said, your job, because I'm famous, I am luckily blessed to be one of those realtors who knows how to go to an event, start talking to people. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, well, we want to sell, or we want to do something. I come home with clients all the time. So she's like, your job is to go to events and mix mingle and bring home clients. And so that's kind of part of and I write all these things off, so if there's anything, like we have an event right now called Premier Napa Valley, it's a wine industry thing. So, there's a lot of great agents that are even in the wine industry. So it's just having your face out there so that you are connecting. They know who you are. These are super important things. So that's real. Like I said, when it comes to the luxury market, it is really all about relationships. Like, you've got to be out there. It is a contact sport, in other words.
I love that. It's a contact sport. And guys, I want you to think about where you can go, where you can be, that you're going to be able to have those types of conversations, right? And it's going to be different for every place, right? Like, I just moved to Houston, and it was interesting because it came up in my TikTok feed. And it said, I don't know why, maybe I was looking up luxury or something like that, because gosh, the algorithms are scary. But all of a sudden I got this feed and it said, here's where the wealthiest people in Houston hang out. Here are the bars. Here are the events they attend, right? Shockingly, the rodeo was on it. And I was like, oh, I have to go to the rodeo. But you put yourself in the places where those people are, where you can be in conversation, just like Tracy said, right? Look, and she said, shockingly, it happens where the average person talks about real estate in a social setting 8 to 12 times a year,
All day long. I mean,
right?
especially, and if they know you're a realtor, I'm sorry, it just comes up.
Yeah.
Like, it is absolutely the conversation. How's the market? Well, it depends. What market are you talking about? Like, I literally can turn around today and say, well, how's the market? Well, which market? Well, what do you mean, which market? And it's hyper local. We all know this, but let's face reality. Like, regular real estate today is doing okay. We've seen better years at the moment, but it's doing okay. I don't think and this is another thing that's super important to really pay attention to. If you are already in the luxury market or getting into the luxury market, you really want to pay attention to what is going on around you. This is like, you can't just be real estate. You have to look at the outside factors. So as we know, we've got interest rates that have played a little bit of a issue when it comes to things. But that being said, most of these properties are cash. So not that big of a deal. The thing is, though, that 7% interest rate affects them in other aspects of their lives when it comes to business. So that's the thing you have to think about. So it does slow it down a little bit. But the biggest thing I see right now is the insurance. Insurance is not getting better. I understand they're coming out with a new map that is going to broaden the what we call high fire, very high fire zones across the board. And a lot of the luxury real estate is in the hillsides or in the mountainside. And so these are high fire zones. So I think it's really crucial that you're talking to your clients. Pricing is going to be more important than ever. And I would say aggressive pricing a little bit right now. And then the other thing is California has a thing with Cal Fire, and I don't know if it's, I know it's here. I think it's through the state of California, but I know it's definitely here where sellers are needing to get their proof that their house is house hardened and that defensible space around there. And Cal Fire is kind of having a look at these. So I think if you can do anything and everything to show that, it's going to be really good for helping to get your house sold.
So what I want to make sure everybody understands on that. Like, I want you to hear how much information Tracy is like she knows, right? This is going to be very important going into these conversations with potential luxury sellers and buyers, is that you have this knowledge and that every day, how many people here are already currently every day you get up and you see how many active listings in your market, how many pendings, how many solds, how many price improvements, right? Good. I see a couple of
Every day.
You have to, that's like number one, get up in the morning, look that up, because you don't know what kind of conversation you're going to have. I used to do it all the time where I just had it on sticky note and I just put it on my laptop, right? It was the first thing I did. And then I had it written out because it's going to tell a story and you don't know who you're going to talk to that day that's going to need that kind of information. And when you say, as of this morning in this market, there were 412 new listings, right? And this is how many pendings. How incredible is that you know that as of every single day? It literally takes less than 3 minutes to look at.
Exactly. And the other thing is today you need to look at the luxury in particular, but I am to see where market trends are going and seeing what's happening on a regular basis. Look at your expireds and look at your withdrawn cancels, because that tells a story too, based on, and if obviously check to see if they actually did sell or not. But it tells a story, and expireds are back, guys. Expireds are back, so I know there was a play for that prior to the pandemic. So that is definitely something to look at if you want to even think about getting into that kind of market. I would say give people a call. Make sure you know your stuff, though. You got to know your stuff. Otherwise, and if they think, there's a lot of sellers that still think that they're in the pandemic and the pandemic pricing. And I'm going to caution you to be very careful about taking those listings because they're very expensive to market. And you're going to be sitting here going, this is crazy. What do I do? It's important to be showing all sellers right now, updating them, even if there's nothing to update. So that, especially because that helps you to get a price reduction if you're needed. But in particular with high end, it's important to show them a lot of information up front so that they understand this is what's happening. I mean, I went on a listing appointment. I looked at the property. I'm going back it was a 2-touch listing appointment. I wanted to see the property. It's absolutely spectacular, very high end. But the market shifted. And so the pricing is going to be different. And I feel that for me, it would be, I would walk away from the listing if they didn't agree with my pricing, because I don't want to be stuck with something that's not going to sell. And then I don't want him disappointed in me. I don't want him thinking I don't know my stuff. Now, the other thing I would do, though, is say, we'll try it for 30 days your way. And if it doesn't work after 30 days, we go back to my way and go from there. So that way it kind of gives them the opportunity to say, oh, she was right, it didn't work. Let's do this.
I love that, Tracy. I think it's tough because people who are looking to get into a luxury market might be more willing to take something that they know is overpriced. But exactly what you just said, you're carrying that. Like she just told you what her videographer alone cost, right?
You're 5 grand out the door
Out the door.
before you even hit the market. And the other thing when it comes to luxury, you want to do very private, elevated, upscale, invitation only events at the property to those high-end realtors and catered, beautiful. Often because I'm in the wine country, we're using, and they have a label. We're using their wine, of course, things like that. Or if not, but you have nice wine. You don't have, $2 chuck. Like you have very nice elevated, things like that. Beautiful charcuterie boards. There's a lot of people making them today. You can do that. Some people even do, some people do other things, and it's really fun. I mean, I just attended a dinner I was invited to from another company to go look at, and it was to remind us of their gorgeous properties that they have at Stanley Ranch, which is here, which is, they start, I think, at 5 million. So it's those kinds of events that you're putting on. And I'm not saying you're doing a dinner. I'm saying you're doing light bites and like an afternoon, like a little cocktail party. And you're having people come, and that's separate from everything else. And that's just high end. And ask them what they think of the price if you're not quite sure. See if they'll be happy to do, what you think, but do your homework. The other thing that's really, really important, it's actually something I've been doing. It's part of my career. I don't take anything less than a year listing. I've never done that. And the reason I do that is because of these short sale days. A short sale took so long, like doing anything less would be like stupid. So I just did a year so I didn't have to keep doing paperwork to renew. So I just kept that as a practice in my business. But today with these properties that take longer to sell, it's relevant. You want to have minimum of a year listing. I just do it for all of them.
Really smart, Tracy, because you've got so much invested in it, right? And so you want to make sure that
You
you're not
want to make sure, absolutely. And I wouldn't even bat an eye at 2 years on some of these, especially if they're not realistic. And then the other thing I would say is just be really good about communicating with them, even if there's nothing to communicate, because that tells a story too.
I love that.
Yeah. So I think and it's so funny. I don't get pushback on the year listing. And I always tell them, it's like, of course, if we don't work out, of course, I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire. But that's kind of what I've just been my practice.
Amazing. So tell me, I mean, obviously I know it's a listing appointment and you're probably bringing the same things most people bring. Is there anything specific that you think most people wouldn't know about that you bring to a listing appointment for a luxury listing? Is there something?
I think with a luxury listing, the collaterals are a lot. And actually, my daughter created a beautiful pre-listing video that's notable sales that I've done. And it's just like little touches and different, of course, the vineyards and what have you. And it's kind of like, oh, that's so pretty. And it's kind of fun. So it speaks to what I've done to showcase, like on what I've sold. So that's one thing I think, and she created that herself. So I would say and having a really good website, believe it or not. A lot of people are like, well, it's like, no, it's your calling card. Like our website, and don't make it just any old website. Like my daughter, we have Luxury Presence. My daughter spent the time to make sure it was very attractive and pretty, and spoke to what we do. The other thing that's super important that people like, high end wants video. You do a lot of video. So I would encourage you, not only are you doing video for the property, you should be doing personal videos with that property and then splicing them, using them in all different places as marketing. And they do like social media. But that's also, some people really do want you placing a sign. We've done, if it's a very, very, very high-end property, Wall Street Journal, not cheap. But that would be something I would definitely say. Definitely, whatever your company is, your high end, like whenever I have something really, really notable, I'll call Coldwell Banker and like, hey, what can I do to get this in the magazine or on the website so that it really shows it's going to be there, but get it like really front and center. Um, they're very into the sophistication when it comes to marketing, and but they're still touch and feel people. And I would definitely say bringing your marketing plan with you, like really step by step, um, and showing them what you're going to do and showing like past sales, what you've done is always a help. And I would say if you don't have that, lean into your company. Lean into your company, their high-end collaterals, to showcase what you can do for them.
I love that. I think, and guys, I was just talking to someone a couple of weeks ago who said, well, I don't have any listings like that yet. I don't have anything like that or anything on my Facebook and I said, great, just go hold an open house or go do a preview at one. And then that way you've got some video of you there and say that you're looking at it for a buyer, right? You don't have to start with something really big that you're currently listing, but you want to start putting yourself in those situations where that's what you have on social media as well, right? It's just exactly like Tracy said, be in the room with the people who might list. You also need to be in those houses. You should absolutely be previewing them, going out there and taking a look at what they have and being that way you're starting to speak the language as well. The language is completely different in a $15 million listing than it is in an $800,000 one. You want to be able to speak to, is that quartz? Is that marble? What kind of wood
is it Carrara marble? I mean, is this, restoration hardware? Is this Selena and Lily? Like these are just, they're high end touches. Even how you market and your wording is different. And so you want to be to that. It really speaks to like when we talk about going on caravan. That is like your job is to go on caravan. So when there are upmarket or a valley, different really beautiful ones, you want to make sure you're seeing them. You want to make sure you're taking like with permission, of course. And by the way, when you're posting, if you're going to be taking pictures and posting and showing these things, permission. Realtors do not like you taking their properties and marketing without giving credit. Like they worked hard to get those listings. So that's law. So that's one thing. But the other thing is most of us are good about it because it exposes our listings. So, just know that. And then the other thing I would say is, I don't know if anybody's from Coldwell Banker out there, but Christoph Chu is definitely Mr. Beverly Hills down, and he's been with Coldwell Banker forever. He was one of the first realtors to really get into video back in the day, but even before, speaking to your point, beforehand, and he's just so Mr. Luxury. He knew right away that's what he wanted to sell. And so he just got in the industry. He absolutely didn't have much to start, of course, like everybody. He literally was going on all of those various different open houses, doing the tours, asking eventually to be able to do those open houses. And eventually it just becomes part of who you are.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, I'm going to stop for 1 minute and see if there's someone who has a specific question on anything that we've discussed, whether it be, related to what she's doing in those listings or for those listings or anything like that. Does anybody have anything? Feel free to come off of mute. Or a suggestion on another option for luxury, something that you're currently doing that you'd like us to know about.
That would be awesome. Like I said, I always want to learn.
Go ahead, Stacy.
My question is, as you said, and we're experiencing it in my market as well, expireds are back. What would be your approach, knowing what you know now, what would be your approach to higher end expired listings?
You still call them. You absolutely still call them. You talk to them with your knowledge and what you feel you can do. I would be sharing anything and everything you can about the market, about what's going to be hindering these sales or what's going to be the benefit to get it sold and what you can do for them. But you've got to come up from a place of, this is what we can do for you, but these are definitely our hurdles to get over. And I am the person that understands and knows this, and I feel that I can definitely serve you because of the knowledge that I have. And also, if you have connections already with people, that's the kind of thing too. It's like making sure that you can get them marketed and exposed, and that's staying in touch with them so that if there's any other shifts in the market, you're going to let them know as soon as possible so that they can be ready to make a shift if they need to.
Yeah, I find that often, guys, when we have a luxury that's expired, it's because their first agent was not honest with them, was not really providing.
Absolutely. A
Right.
lot of people take the listing at the number because and sometimes like they take a high price listing and then they're going to start saying, okay, and now we have to drop the price. And now we have to drop the price. And it's very frustrating to sellers. I'd rather go in and be very open and honest with, this is where we're at. We'll give it a shot your way if that's what you want. But I mean, it goes back to, you only have one time to make a first great impression.
Yeah, I love that. So honesty will go a long way. You may not get the listing, guys, like if they're completely unreasonable, right?
Yeah.
And exactly what Tracy said, though, you have to be willing to walk away because otherwise you're out that money for someone who's unrealistic about what it's going to sell for. And you can speak to what the market will allow. A home is only worth what a buyer is going to pay for it.
And it's not just the money, believe it or not, your time. Your time having to keep finding ways to get this out there. And you know darn well it needs to have a price reduction, and they're not willing to listen. So you just keep having to call and say, okay, and you supply them with everything. And like you're doing boosts and you're doing all these different things. That's extra money out the door that you know darn well. It's like, they're still going to, and I find that I know darn well, even the person, if they do attract a buyer, they're still going to come in under.
Yes.
Because we know the market as well as anybody else. You're all out there in your markets. You know what the pricing looks like. This is what the range should be. And here we go. Yes, you'll get a unicorn every once in a while, but they're unicorns.
I also want to make sure that everybody realizes that you should also be giving them and looking up every day the average day on market for something, especially at the price point that you're in, so that you're more realistic in that. You cannot speak to how quickly something at $800,000 is going to sell versus $5 million. Two completely different situations, right? So when you're looking that up every day and you're wanting to speak to it, smartly, the most educational way possible, you're looking that those are completely different average days on market. It's going to take longer for something at a higher price point in most cases. So make sure that you're providing that information as well. Stacey, that was a great question.
Pricing is so key.
Anyone else have a question so far where we are? I like to stop kind of mid-call just to make sure that we're addressing anything. No.
Wow. I'm surprised. I could talk real estate 24/7. I flip and love it.
Okay. Tracy, let's talk a little bit. I know yesterday we chatted a little bit about the market right now, and I know that we've kind of been touching on it here and there. Tell us what you're seeing overall. We talked quite a bit yesterday about what's shifting, what's not, and what's happening. I'd love to just get your input on what you're seeing right now.
So I own a bit of property here in the Napa Valley. I also own something in South Carolina. And it's near the water. I also we have a place in San Francisco in Pacific Heights. So that's a nice, nicer neighborhood. Watching real estate is watching the trends on all of these is something that I do on a regular basis just to see for my own edification on values for our properties. And what I do notice, one of the things I was saying is I went on a listing appointment and we touched on it, and he bought the property for $4 million, put $500,000 into it. And I went back to 2020 when he bought it and went all the way up to today on solds only. And I couldn't find one sale to support anything at even $4 million. After that, I literally and I broadened it. I went different, but I know darn well at a certain point, that's not the same area. It doesn't factor. Bottom line is, I feel like to get his property sold, he's going to have to lose money at 3.7 million if he's lucky. And the biggest factor is, insurance is going to be a problem for all of us across the board. I really feel strongly we're going to see our prices drop because of this. And I think that's going to affect the high end more than anything, because of often their properties are a little more secluded and a little more in the country. When you're on like here in Napa, if you're on the valley floor, it's definitely not going to affect you as much. Bless you. But what does happen is that property range, I feel the luxury is going to take a little bit of a softening, to say the least. And these are people with money, and they don't want to pay what they're having to pay in insurance. I mean, these guys are from Apple.
Yeah.
Like, they have the money. They're just like, I don't get to be at the property. I have to work more because they bought it during the pandemic. And insurance, I don't want to pay it. Well, they know darn well a buyer's not going to want to pay it either. And so we're also looking at Fair Plan, of course, is just about insolvent. It's not doing well. We're waiting to see what's going to happen there. Often someone steps in the insurance world will step in and go, okay, I'm going to cover the gap and see if I can make a quick little kill that way. We're waiting to see who will. We don't have anybody yet. I'm talking to people left, right, and center in the luxury market to see who are they using to find different names.
That's
so
smart.
So that we have somebody, especially even if I do end up getting the listing and I'm not there yet, I have somebody for your buyer that's
Right.
more affordable. So these are the kind of you've got to look at this completely holistically and like everything. How can I get this sold on both levels and on both sides?
I love that you said that, Tracy, because I don't think people think that far ahead sometimes when they're listing something. Is like, you've already gone out to do the research to see who that buyer might be able to utilize, right?
Yeah.
So you're providing a different kind of value to your seller, and you're saying, hey, listen, I've gone out, I've done this research, here's what I think might work for this buyer, right? And guys, I want you to remember, at the end of the day, as realtors, we're problem solvers.
All day long.
That's really what we're doing, is solving a problem, whether it be, that they need to sell for a particular reason. And Tracy, you mentioned that earlier. It's not always about the money, right?
Nope.
We never know what it is that's the impetus for them needing to sell or a buyer needing to buy at that time. But being in problem solving mode, when you know that there's something specific like insurance that's going to be an issue, and sometimes it's completely different, right? It might just be I was just speaking to someone yesterday, and I opened their mind up to the idea of helping a seller do renovations in advance, right? And I was like, go out and find Curbio, or go out and find that. Like, even on a luxury, sometimes there's something that needs to be done, right? And you're problem solving and telling them that in advance. The honesty factor when you go in and touch base with a seller, like Tracy, I am not looking forward to that conversation for you with that seller about the fact they're going to lose.
You know what, though? I'm okay with it, because the reason is, like, if you're not going to be realistic, I don't want the listing.
I don't want you.
I really have gotten to that. I'm carrying 10 listings right now. Okay. I want them sold.
Yeah.
And I literally am like, and I'm literally having conversations with my sellers every single week. So until they hear it, I'm giving them all the information. I'm not pushing them, but I am letting them say, like, are we selling? Or are we sitting? It's that I don't say it like that, of course, but I mean, they need to understand that we're in a shifting market, and it's really shifting. And I feel that a lot of people, I spoke with a few people this week, nobody's really talking about it, but we've had a very kind of, I would say, neutral market. And I feel it might dip into a buyer's at some point. I really do. And it's not a big deal, because eventually it's going to come back up. We all know we're in cycles. That's the biggest thing. We're in it for the long haul. But it's this, I feel it's the agents that are willing to roll their sleeves up and just, let's go. We got to make this work. We got to, like, we're in a different market. So shift, pivot, do what you need to do in order to, to do well. And I feel that being open and honest with people in a gentle way always wins the day. And if it doesn't, then so be it. It's okay. One of the things I feel really strongly, one of the things that you were saying about like Curbio. So my company offers our sellers, and I know there's a lot of Compass agents. They'll have, you know, their little card and they can go ahead and it's a game changer to be able to say, I've got, we offer 50,000 to our clients. We call it the Blue Ribbon Program. Here's $50,000. You can go ahead and do whatever you need to do. And more often, they do need to have things done. And it's really important to have really good staging. For whatever they need to use it, we don't question, but it's interest free.
I love that.
It's interest free.
And a lot of times they don't, it's not about the money, guys. They just want somebody to come in and project manage all of that, right? To come in and just be like, okay, this is everything that Tracy just recommended that we do in order to prepare a list. And these people are going to come in, they're going to take care of it. They're not calling and finding vendors. They're not. Remember that for luxury as well, it's about their time.
Exactly.
To a seller in this price point. So being able to offer something like that, and we're like, great, we're going to take care of that for you. We've got great vendors. We're going to come in, we're going to paint, we're going to do this. We might replace the granite, something like that. It's about what you can offer them and saving them time, because time is money.
Exactly. And let me tell you, never take a listing that's not, I mean, in the high end, it's got to be cherry. It's got to be so beautiful. Because when you'll see people say, oh, well, let the buyer deal. Like, they don't want to deal in any way, shape, or form with an unfinished project. In any way, shape, or form. So, for example, this house I went to, I mean, it really was stunning and in a very unique way. So it had the wow factor. And it was like French, I want to say French country Provence meets Japanese Zen. I mean, it was just unique and cool. But there were two stubs, like things that like stubs like for plumbing that hadn't been finished. And I'm like, what's that? Not like that, but in my head, I'm going, well, that's not going to fly. We started a bar upstairs in the loft area where the jam session is because they're musicians. Cool. Are we finishing? No, the bar could do that. I'm like, no. Those are the kinds of things. You're not saying that, but I'm just like, it'd probably be in your best interest. And I can do all that for you. You don't even have to be here.
That's it. Is you're offering that value.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, when it comes to taking a year listing, do you know how long sometimes it takes to get these properties ready to go on the market from when you take it? Often 3 to 6 months.
Oof.
Often. So you want that year listing. Yeah. And I find that in everything. If I'm going to do any kind of project managing, like hands down, it's a year.
Awesome. All right. We're about 15 minutes before the end of the call. Any thoughts, ahas, questions, anything that's standing out to you? And hopefully you learned something today, because I'm like, I literally was over here taking notes. So that's why I kept seeing the top of my head. Anybody have anything that they want to say, add, ask, ahas, takeaways, something you're going to go do right now? Like, no? Why is everybody so quiet today? Gonna call on people. Nobody got anything? Come on, an aha.
I'll go.
Thank you, Stacy.
You're so welcome. You let me eat my lunch. I'm going to give you. I actually took a page and a half of notes, and I think my aha around this specific topic is I don't go after this business more because I know I'm not prepared. Brought that from the back of my head to the front of my mind, and I'm just listening to everything you're saying, Tracy, and I'm like, I could do better at that. That needs a tweak. That needs an update. And I'm not somebody who likes to go to events. I used to be that person. And I think I got to get back to doing that. I'm like you, put me in a room and I can get stuff done. So just kind of looking at everything you've shared today, tying a bow on that, like I'm just not as prepared as I need to be more confident approaching that type of business. And there's no reason I'm not. I just haven't assembled those things together in deliverables like you're talking about. So that's my biggest aha today. And I just want to say thanks for that.
Are you kidding? I'm always in a learning mode. I mean, there's a lot I don't know. So I have mentors that I go. Rick was actually one of my mentors, to be honest with you. He was a dear friend and he really was my mentor. Um, what I find with this industry is the one thing I will say that I feel for me that I had a little bit of saving grace is because I owned restaurants for so many years prior to getting into real estate. Um, I I'm also a level 2 sommelier. So that's actually rare here, even as in wine country as a realtor. Most realtors don't have that. And so it's kind of fun bragging rights to talk about because I can, and my passion's food and wine pairing. And I'll tell anybody, like, oh my God, call me if you ever want to, like, what would go well with this? What would go well with that? Because it's fun for me. But my big thing is like I really find I'm like you in that I want to be really knowledgeable and prepared. Like I keep my mouth shut until I really know what I can talk about and talk knowledgeably. And I want to prepare and be really, prepped because especially if you're going to be I think I'm one of 3 on this listing appointment. And I really came to the decision when I looked at all the information and I really looked at different areas to see what the difference was between one area and another area, why they were one was still thriving and the other isn't. And it really, because it surprised me. So I really dug deep into the numbers, like what sold, what didn't sell, what came back on the market, like really get in there so that you can see the story that's going on. So one area definitely commands more than another. And I'd rather, like I said, I don't want to sit on the market or have people go, you're way too high. I'm like, we all know that seller wants to do this, and I'd rather come in and go, no, this is our pricing. We know the market shifted. Luckily, he has asked, like, what are you seeing in the market? So when I go back to meet with him with my beautiful CMA, my collaterals. And the other thing is I don't actually use my CMA much. I leave it for them. I've got my talking notes and we're talking and it's all there and I'll do bullet points, but it's all there. I'd rather be in relationship with them. And so I'm okay losing it so that I'd rather that than have him upset that, oh, here we are and it's not selling. And why did you tell me it's this price when it's not? And it's like, well, the market shifted. I'd rather that. And it's hard to walk away from a, $4 or $5 million listing. But if it's not going to sell, I'm not going to do it. And I know he thinks it's between 4 or 5 and 5 million, and it's not.
I want to speak to a moment just to what Stacy said, because I think it was so impactful. There's nothing here that is not changed by just becoming educated on it, right? Being prepared. So it's not impossible for anyone to get into this. It's really about being able to speak from a place of knowing because you've done the work, right? So it's just a tweak, exactly what you said, like a little thing that you can tweak where you start to feel more comfortable about having those kinds of conversations. So it's really just educating yourself a little bit more on that particular market so that you're speaking with that sense of knowledge.
Exactly.
Melody has a question here because her microphone's not working. She said, what percentage do you charge luxury sellers and what percentage do you advise that they offer to buyer's agents? Is there a script around that?
I'm 3 always.
Look at her. I love it. She's just sweet.
Yeah. And whatever they choose to offer is their decision. I do fight for a minimum of 2.5. for the, that's the conversation I'm having, but we know this is a whole different scenario today. That being said, I don't know what you're seeing in your market, but in our market, it hasn't changed. I think we're getting more money actually in our market. As a result, the numbers are up. So what we're seeing is, in other words, and also it's kind of, we explain how this works. And we've had conversations. I was like, absolutely not. I don't need to. And I'm like, you're right. But they also have the right not to show your property, not to even look at your property. There are buyers that will absolutely not pay the representative. And so what they are doing is turning around and not showing you the property. So you have that right. You're shrinking your pool of buyers, and that's okay. To get the property sold, it's a net sheet. It's a net sheet conversation. That's all it is. Do your net sheets. Come with them. Show them at 2.5%, 3%. I actually just do it at 2.5 and 3. I don't even deal with 2.
Yeah.
So that they show. It's all about your bottom line, Mr. Seller. If somebody comes in and offers you full price, blah, 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 and it's done versus you're having to wait. And now, do you have carrying costs? Because we have to figure those in. Like, let's get it done. So I really we don't see pushback. And somebody mentioned, like, what's the conversation around 3%? Well, I actually find it's a psychological thing since the lawsuit that, oh, I only have to pay 3%. That's fine. It really is that simple. It's just not 3% is just, it's not a big deal to them. And more often they feel, because a lot of people were doing, like, it was 6. And so if they only have to pay 2.5, they feel that they're getting a deal. And also they understand that there's more marketing and more stuff that goes along. And I'm going to be doing way more marketing, way more on a lot for a longer time period, because these properties have an insurance issue right now. That's all it is. They're gorgeous properties. They're gorgeous, but an outside factor has come into effect.
I love that. And guys, I think it's about confidence as well. And this is something I'm going to encourage you to practice before you ever go to your very first listing appointment that's for a luxury, is don't walk in there unprepared in that sense. If you have to practice with your spouse or a friend or another agent or whatever it is about the level of confidence in speaking this way. And Melody, I love your question, like, to justify the 3%. There's no justification. That is my fee.
Exactly. Like, it is my fee, and you're going to get a lot for it. Like,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing, especially, and even if you haven't done it, like, I've been in the business 21 years, but even if I haven't done luxury the whole time, it's like, I bring a lot to the table because of my years of experience and knowledge, and I own that. That I do own, and I'm willing to do the homework. I'm willing to do, like, why isn't it selling, even on a regular basis? Why is this moving? Why is that not moving? There's a little no rhyme or reason in the market right now. I get it, but it's our job to get the property sold. So what do we need to do? We're problem solvers, and you've got to think like that on every single property. You've got to think like that. And that's where I think your 3% is an easy justification.
Any other questions or thoughts? Stacy, thanks so much for sharing your aha, your takeaway. Anyone else that's on the call feel like they have something that they're gonna, maybe something that you're gonna implement right away that you weren't doing? No.
And then one of the other things maybe I'll share is do what you do best. I'm going to be honest, guys. I suck at detail. Okay, but I have a good eye, but I suck at detail. My daughter's good at detail. She does all my, make sure everything's wrapped up in those pretty ribbons and bows, but I do all the studying. I do all the communicating. I really kind of get into the deep dives, so to speak. But, and then I said, like, oh, I'm a really good ideas person. So, but then I have other people implement. I do what I do best. So if it means having a, some sort of as assistant, anything to help you to do what you do best. Because what I found in trial and error, when I try and do everything, it doesn't work at all. As a matter of fact, and you just get exhausted.
Melody has another question here. How much business do you get monthly from your $500 Zillow monthly investment?
I have to look at that, and I don't look at mine monthly. I look at mine annually, because it is a high end. And so, I mean, I closed 2 deals last year. One was a 7 million and the other was a for 4.5.
So you paid back.
So paid it back. Yeah. So, and I'm not going to lie. Do I always sit there going, do I keep it? Should I not? But I have one of the first ever that they had, and all of my listings go to me. Nobody else gets them. So that's why I just stuck with it. But trust me, there are times when I'm just like, should I just get rid of it? And then I'm like, no, because I get these really fun listings, or properties from it, or buyers. And I'm just like, it's not that much.
So we're going to finish up with has a last question, and she said she has an open house tomorrow for a luxury listing. Can you provide some advice on how to best be prepared for that?
Yes, definitely have all the beautiful collaterals that the agent has. And I mean by beautiful marketing pieces, there should be some brochures. There should be some just really beautiful pieces there. Make sure I would definitely have food. We do like cute little drinks, water, something that for people to nibble, like just have something that's so that you feel like they're coming in and having a little party. It doesn't have to be a big deal, just a little something. Know that property inside and out, know what else is around that's on the market, know what's sold in the area, like be able to speak to all of the market information around that property, what you're seeing, what you're not seeing. Make sure you have every information from the listing agent about what's pertinent to the seller and what they're looking for. And anything about the property that's special and unique that you need to know. Like those are.
I'm going to add to that. Something that we used to do, and this definitely should be something that you have if it's available, is buyers at that price point like to have readily available to them printed out site plans, printed out walkthrough floor plans, anything like that, guys, that and if there's like a features list, and don't print it on cheap crappy paper. Okay. Thick paper. That way, if they want to walk away with that flyer, now they've also got those things to attach to it as well, because they've walked that property now, they've looked at it and they've seen it, and now that's giving them something visual to remember about what they saw. So think about those things, that if you were walking in, what's all of the information that you would want on that home, but on like a nice quality paper.
Yeah, right? That's the secret, is thick paper on all of this.
It's crazy to think that that's so important, right? But it just doesn't feel cheap, right?
Correct.
You want to feel elevated in some way. And I love what you said, Tracy, is I'm telling you, study. If you're doing that, study tonight everything that there is to know about that property. Like highlight it on the list sheet if you need to be thinking about it a little bit more tonight and early tomorrow morning, and think about those things that would be important to a buyer and why.
And never fake it and never lie. If you don't know, just say, you know what, I don't know, but let me get back to you on that. Never, ever. Like if you get caught out, it's okay. We're human. Just, you know what? I didn't know. Let me think about that one. Let me get back to you. It's okay. We're human.
I love that. All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour. Tracy, I can't say thank you enough for today. I took notes, and I've done luxury in the past, and I was like making notes on what I was going to do. So I'm so appreciative of you and for everyone joining today. And just a reminder, if you want to watch the video for this, it's at empirebuilders.pro/resources. Again, thanks everybody for joining, and I hope to see you again on our next Friday call. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tracy. So appreciate you. Bye, guys.
Yes, bye.